Welcome, guys. Episode 4. We are on our 4th episode and haven't even released any yet. We're rolling. We're that confident. Yeah. So obviously, if you've listened to any previous ones, or if this is your first time, we punch a few out at once with our work life and family life and all that. And so we thought we're still getting through everyone's questions, and because if you know us, there's no short answers or talking with us, so we just roll. So welcome. Again, Instagram is where you can hit us up, and Off-Road Yarnsman podcast. Big Brad Dog's on that one, so you can have a yarn with him. He's the pro around here.
It's the place to be. It's the place to be.
Yep. Tell us whether they're doing shit or what. So we got another 2 questions. And we're going to roll through them. We've got a bit of a topic after. And anything you want to add to the start there, Brad?
How's it all going? What he's doing? Because obviously, we're punching them out. Like Jade just said, we're doing them in the same day in concession. But you guys are probably going to hear these a couple of weeks apart. So, from where you're going to hear this, from where you've heard the previous one, probably a 2-week gap. So I hope you've had a ripper 2 weeks. Hope you've all got away over the last 4 episodes. So you've probably done like four trips in between, and you've probably caught a heap more fish than Fee and I do, and heaps might have happened in your life. So
tips.
Welcome to episode 4, and I hope that give us some tips there. Bloody oath. But I hope you've you've enjoyed your time in between the episodes, and I hope you if you're still hanging around at episode 4, we're doing something right and you're enjoying it. So, let's just hope this sitting here doing them all in one day and thinking in our own head that people are still here listening. Let's hope we're right. So I appreciate if you are still at episode 4 and you've hung around for all these weeks and you've got to this stage and you're still enjoying it. And obviously, within this process, guys, you would have asked us another potentially, we're hoping at least another 10 questions. Could be 100 questions, could be 2 questions. We don't know. So at the end of the day, thanks for sticking with us. Episode 4. Let's do it, Russ. Let's do it.
I'm keen to hear responses on, our shit talking, whether we're on point or, we can still read them out. But so we've got 2 questions. We've got one that was written. It's actually that long that it couldn't be put in the question box.
He's like us. He'll fit in good with us.
Welcome all, brother. And then we actually got a audio one for the second one. I suppose we'll start off with Zach, eh? You got Zach. He's actually lives too far from me down south. The page is GWM Tank. He's got one of those big tank-looking things. I thought when they called them these tanks, I thought they were just as a nickname, but they're actually called a tank. But so they got one of those boxy. Have you seen?
That's a Hummer, isn't it? Yeah, I think it's a Hummer.
It's like its own. It's like its own brand, but that's what they call them, like tank something. I've never heard much about them, but they get like massive tyres on them and all that from stock. So I haven't actually.
Well, I just thought he was called the tank because he might be a big bastard like me.
No, it's to do with his car, If you have to check the profile out after. We should try and link up to a video or something and check one of them out because I haven't actually seen one in person. I have one in Perth, but they look pretty cool. But his question was, will the influx of the new hybrid and electric utes and 4-drive coupled with the new emissions laws for vehicle manufacturers drive up the price of current diesel models to the point where they're unaffordable for the classic P-plater and to introduce people to 4-drives? Will this create a stagnant market in the majority of the 4-drive owners and hence have more cash to spend on accessories and drive the prices up? So there's a few points in there. And I know a lot of the big channels have been sort of on this process. I think there was something brought up. I don't follow politics or anything, but there was something about taxing all the 4-drives and all that sort of stuff to try and bring in all this electric stuff. I don't know. I reckon you can start this off, Brad. I've got sort of an opinion on it, and I don't think we're too. In a way, I don't think we're too have to be too worried about it. I don't think it's going to work. But what's your take on it? Obviously, being up north with big distances, I don't know how that's going to work.
Yeah, mate. I'm not going to lie. I will start off. I reckon you'd be better versed at answering this from a city slicker style and side of things because you're down around it. We're not. Look, to be honest with you, mate, I don't know a lot about hybrids and electric cars. Obviously, on site, on a couple of the mine sites I work on up here, there is a small number of electric cars and stuff. I don't. There might be even the Ubers or H rides or whatever you call them up here in Headland might be electric. We don't travel in them, so I don't know too much about it. I don't do a lot of research on the whole electric car and the future and all the rest of it. Apart from, I do see little snippets, mate, about essentially my old dinosaur 105 will become non-existent and pushed off the road eventually. I don't know when that's going to happen. I try not to think about it, mate. To be honest, I just sort of go through life. I probably put me head up my ass sometimes when it comes to these sort of topics where it's just like, mate, at the end of the day, I'm not going to really have an input on it. Like, I'm just going to get told one day, yeah, it's got to be off the road, and I'm just going to try and pretend I didn't hear it, and I'm just going to keep driving it around up here in the Pilbara and the Kimberley and do my thing. But I don't see, in my opinion, I don't see hybrids and electric cars being able to be sustained where I live. Just because of the distances between, I don't see them in the middle of the Pilbara anywhere, mate, doing charging stations. Otherwise, it'll be like them memes where you've got a charging station with a big genset out the back pumping diesel out of it trying to charge it. You know what I mean? Which, yeah, goes, I mean, it's a funny concept. I believe that, mate, I don't know whether those memes are actually, setups or real or if they've moved on from that. But the reality is, where we live with big distances and being remote and not having the access to all that sort of stuff, I don't think it'll affect us up here in the short term or even in the long term. I'm not sure, mate, because essentially I'm surrounded by trains and road trains and big machinery all day, every day, and it's all run by diesel. And my wife, her job is she works on a fuel farm. So, and, she loads trains every single day with millions of litres of fuel to go out to the mines to drive these dump trucks and all the rest of it. Whether they're auditable ones where there's no people in them now and they're driven remotely, the reality is they're not electric. I know there's a lot of talk about all that sort of stuff, but this industry, and if I have my true opinion on it, the Pilbara and mining in Australia runs this country. Without it, this country's dead in the water. Just my opinion. And it's run off diesel. It's not run off electric. So we're a long way off. We're a long way off having 56-metre road trains pulling 100-odd tonne of iron ore up the road. We're a long way away from having them as electric. So if they're allowed to drive up the road, I'm pretty sure my 25-year-old dinosaur that stinks is going to be able to drive up the road with them. Just my opinion here in the Pilbara and the top end. But I know last year we went to Melbourne to visit the father-in-law and the brothers and sisters-in-laws and family and that down there. And, mate, we were blown away because we don't see it. We live pretty, I guess, isolated from a lot of that sort of stuff up here. Going to like Bunnings, because we don't have a Bunnings up here, so we went to Bunnings, I think, just to walk around, like just to be amongst it, like we went there to get a present, but to be like, just to drive around the city down there, the father-in-law lives in Box Hill, and mate, nearly every second corner you go past, there's a charging station, and like 5 or 6, it's, like what we see up here is a car wash. They're electric wash, they're like electric charging stations. I actually didn't know that was a thing down there. I knew that electric cars were around, but I didn't realise how full on it was. So obviously in the cities, people are more aware of it, and it's probably, I think that's where the popular conversations around all this come from city people that are around it and see it and don't see how we live. That might sound strange to say, but yeah, I don't think it's going to affect us anytime soon, mate. I think it's probably more likely to affect you city folk. And as for P-platers, I don't know whether that makes it any different if you're a P-plater or you're an old dinosaur like me. I think at the end of the day, you're trying to buy something that'll start you in the market. And budget's budget. Whether you're buying a cheap electric car, an expensive electric car, or a brand new Hilux or an LN106 for $2,500. At the end of the day, your budget's your budget. So not all P-platers are poor. We've got P-platers up here, mate, that are earning $150,000 a year. So they're not struggling. And then we've got P-platers that are struggling. And then we've also got people in the cities that are, that work at, normal, typical jobs that aren't in mining, man. They're earning $35,000 and $50,000 a year, so it doesn't make it any different from them. So I'm not sure on the P-plate concept. What I do know is electric can nick off as far as I'm concerned. That's probably the nicest way to say it. Not interested, and I hope it never ever takes off in my time, to be honest.
Yeah.
What's your spin, Braz?
I think electric has its place. I don't think and again, I'm saying this, I've heard bits and pieces and little bits interested me, but I haven't full studied it. So again, I could be wrong, and I'm happy for you to tell me I'm wrong, for people to tell me they're wrong. But electric in the city, fucking ideal. Like, honestly, for the people that, live in an apartment or even a house, whatever, you're shooting down the road, 20 minutes, half an hour down the road to your office or work, shooting back, boom, that's your life. Sweet as. Like, that is perfect. You plug it in at home, it's charging. Yeah. But when you start trying to travel with it, and I don't know, and obviously with this question as well, but it depends on what the government's trying to do, and they're trying to bring in this tax to make it more expensive to get a four-wheel drive, like a petrol or diesel four-wheel drive, which I reckon is really dumb, because tradies, you're going to need a diesel ute, pulling trailers and tools and stuff. You can't use electric. Farmers or on stations and stuff, there's no charging station on there. So I don't see how, whether they haven't thought about it or what, but I don't see how you can implement electric in that. It's just not practical. Like, even in, I know, mining, in a sense, I was saying they're bringing out a full electric truck, like, full electric, no diesel at all. But as in travelling wise, like where we are in Kojonup is sort of halfway between Perth and Albany. And so this is, a lot of people stop here to charge. And I'll drive, going to get something from a shop or something and pass them. And then I'll come back 2 hours later and they're still there. So you're adding so much more time onto your travel time. And then I remember hearing about tests as well. They're saying they're cheaper, and then they did like a big test on, like, travelling from middle Australia over to Queensland or something, and there wasn't actually that much cheaper, and they arrived like 2 days later than the petrol car or whatever. And I just do not see it being practical. They're talking about this new hydrogen technology and all this sort of stuff, which would make more sense, but just unless they can bring electricity technology and solar panels or something to produce electricity in that car full time, I don't see it being a practical thing at all. Like you said, up north, it's just, you're travelling, we did the Great Central Road, it's 1,000 Ks on dirt, and, you got like one petrol station in the middle.
Yeah.
Like, some of that would be maxing out the range on these cars. And so it all depends, I think, on if this works. Depends if, because I think I seen something on TikTok or Instagram or something about a news report about all these Teslas sitting over east at the port because they can't sell them. So it all depends on the government. Depends how hard they're trying to push it and whether they're taxing people. And, obviously, you got DPFs and all this sort of stuff. They've been pushing it for a long time. And, it is, probably should be something that we work towards being cleaner. But one stat I was amazed at is Australia is 1% of the world's emissions. 1%. So in China, something like 30%.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
And working in mining, I work around machines and stuff. a dump truck, depending on the size, can take like 2,000-3,000 litres and probably burn through that in 24 hours. So, in what general fuel tank size would be 60-70 litres, depending how much you drive. That could last you a week to a few days. So, in my eyes, wouldn't you be concentrating on putting your technology to the dump trucks and the machines that are using thousands of litres per 24 hours to our little 4 drives that we're trying to go on the farm or to the beach or so I think if they do really push it, then we probably will be in a bit of a shit with people up and coming, whether they start banning, if they bring in a full ban, like I think which you might be trying to get at is if, so they're saying from this year, like 2000, anything older you can't drive anymore, well, then it probably is going to be really hard for P-flaters, but I don't see the technology being sustainable. I think eventually they'll get to the point and realise they've messed up, and maybe that's when that new technology will start coming in, but yeah, I don't really see it being working at all.
And look, mate, to be honest with you, there's a two-part of that. Obviously, Zach's question was two-part, and I'm just going to touch back on part one when I was saying about sustainable and stuff, and it wouldn't work up here. I got a mate that I work with, a good mate, Joey, and he works for the SES down in Victoria there. He was talking about a few things, and I don't quote me on all this sort of stuff because I'm not an expert. And I, when I'm listening to him, I'm hearing what he's saying. But, I'm not going to be able to explain it like he does. But my understanding with like even Teslas, I think it's Teslas that he was saying, if a normal car catches on fire, they can put it out. With a Tesla, they can't, mate. They actually have to let it sit there and burn just because of the technology around it or whatever, the makeup of the batteries and all the rest of it. No, I haven't, mate. And I haven't looked into it. And this is what I say. I'm not an expert. I'm probably the wrong person to be, and I'm probably the wrong person to be talking about the whole electric stuff because it just doesn't remotely interest me, so I don't really focus on it. But the other thing he was saying, when you said about cars sitting there ready to be sold, but my understanding at this point, and it might have changed since I had that last conversation, but once they're damaged or ran out or they've run their race or whatever, they still haven't worked out a proper way to get rid of them, to dump them or whatever, to start loading up on them and then just not have a concept, and then all of a sudden we've got a graveyard of cars that we can't dispose of properly because of the fault. There's more. The way I understand it in my little pea brain when it comes to this topic is there's more cons than there is pros. So, and until that time they change that, I think we're a bit off it. I don't think we probably need to stress about it too much as some people say, mate, strap yourself in, it's going to happen overnight, and maybe it will, and I think I'm just going to have to deal with that when it comes. Part two of that question was essentially, will it drive up the price to make it unachievable? I think that's part two of the question. Now, again, I would say for the immediate time it will. But correct me if I'm wrong, when they first announced that the Land Cruiser, the 79, for example, was going away from the V8 and they were going to a four-cylinder, the prices of 79s went even more ridiculous than they've ever been. Like, you were looking at 79s, mate, with bugger all mods on them. People were asking like 150, 160 grand, and people were prepared to pay it because they thought they were buying the last of the V8s. We got fortunate with ours. It's like we got a brand new car and it's the last of the V8s. Yeah, really lucky with it. And even facelift or pre-facelift, but the fact that they'll essentially just get rid of these, they drove up the price. But my understanding now that people are starting to accept the four cylinders and starting to, you got people out there doing reviews and stuff. And then they're starting to see the benefits of the four-cylinder, and, people are probably thinking, bang for buck, because I think everyone just loves their V8s and stuff, but people are starting to probably focus more on money now, that the price of the 79s are actually starting to go backwards again now. They're still going to be ridiculously expensive, don't get me wrong. But the same four-wheel drive 2 years ago, whatever, I don't know the exact times, but say, for example, 2 years of time when they released that announcement that the V8s were going to be extinct in a few years, everyone was just like, mate, everyone's going to want them, bang another 50 on there. Like just put 50 on it, mate. Just chuck 50 on it because they're going to be like a collector's item. That only lasted 2 years to where now people are starting to get back to where realistic, mate, it's not going to happen. So I think if that makes sense, and I think that will happen within this Tesla or electric car. I don't even know if they're the same thing. I actually know nothing about it all. But I think that's what'll happen, mate. They'll go bang. They'll come onto the scene and they'll push the prices up, or down, or it'll have a negative effect for people, and then reality will set in, and it'll go back to what it was like before that. I don't really get into politics, and I don't really get into all that sort of shit, mate. Like, it's not who I am. I'm more, mate, I come home from work, and while other people are watching the news and all the drama in the world, I'm researching what fishing line I'm going to put on my reel. Like, I live in a bubble, mate, to be honest with you. I'm not an educated person. I'm not a dumb person, I wouldn't think, but I don't really care about the crime and the dumb shit that goes on in the world. I actually completely put my blinkers onto all that. I've got enough people at work that get caught up in all that sort of shit. So I hear it in the crib room, or I might hear it on the work side. I just sort of half listen to them, and if it's something that pricks my ears up where I'm half interested, I'll have a conversation with them. But I certainly don't research, and I actually don't. Yeah, I don't really sort of care for all the dumb shit that I'm not really into. And that's not taking anything away from Zach's question. It's a quality question, mate, because it is the way of the future. I think you can be like me and put your head in the sand and pretend it's not going to happen. And that might fraught with danger also, because I think it's definitely going to happen. What impact that has on you guys down there, and what impact it has up on us, I think it'll be completely different. But definitely something to have a think about. Something that, it's happening right before our very eyes. It's happening.
Yeah. Well, as always, we'd love your comments, and probably a lot more educated people out there that can actually give us some better facts, and that's just what I've sort of heard around the joint, and whether they're true or false, and everyone can let them know their thoughts. So thanks very much for that, Zach. It was a very good question. I'm sorry that we're not the pros to answer it, but are we anything more you want to add?
But hopefully, mate. Just hopefully that like I said, people will jump on the Insta, or they can just do a video, and it might just sort of go back and forwards. If they want to do a voice video or whatever you call it, voice recording or whatever, to answer a question, send it in to us. We can put it in the next episode to answer from the previous episode, or even two episodes ago, if that makes sense. But by all means, if you're full bottle on that, the answers for Zach's question, feel free to throw it through to our Insta page, or do a video for us and send it in, and we can release that in the forward going videos. Just because we don't have the answers for everything, but we'd love some quality feedback from everyone. Doesn't have to be a shit fight. Doesn't have to be a I told you so, or I know more than you, or whatever. We certainly don't want to start a debating team on this channel. It's not what we're about. But definitely give us some feedback. Legend, Zach. Appreciate it, mate.
Well, we got the next one.
Go on, Buzz. What have we got next?
I had the pleasure of meeting Brendan, Ocean Heart Adventures, YouTube and Instagram. Go check him out.
Mad dog.
He actually come to the got him to come to the weekend fuel event we had in Perth. Had his rig there and set up, and had fortunately, I was running around, so didn't actually get to have a good face-to-face talk. But he's sent in our first audio recording. So we're going to have a crack playing that. Hopefully it turns out all smooth for you, but we'll play that now.
G'day, you two absolutely beautiful gentlemen. Brendan here, Ocean Heart Adventures. I've got some fucking questions for you guys. First of all, it's fucking freezing here. It's about fucking cold as the bloody underside of a penguin's fucking ball sack right here. 2.7 this morning. I reckon he's still sitting in the shady side of a fucking iceberg, I reckon. It is bloody cold. Hope it's not politically correct, your podcast. Sorry about the swearing. So my question is, if you pull up to a beach, right, Jaden, you know, heading into Yugarup, peak salmon season, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and you get there and there's a bunch of metrosexuals parked in there, all-wheel drive. One of them's fucking halfway up that first hill, stuck on the beach, right? And what do? Are you helping them? Are you not helping them? Like, there's about 5 cars. They're all got their Birkenstocks out. They're all fucking walking up and down the sand dunes. Got their 3/4 length pants on, and they're all stuck on the side of the hill. Are you stopping and helping, or are you driving past? Give them the nod and the wave, or are you letting them, maybe even throw some cable ties at them so they can join their Birkenstocks together and make some max tracks? Or are you going to get their leather belts or something like that to create a snatch strap? Are you helping them out, or are you letting them go? What's the go? Let me know. Interesting question. I like to do a little bit of a nod and wave. I think that they've got it with their Birkenstocks. They've fucking got that shit. They can get out of there. Strap them Birkenstocks as max tracks. They're all good. Get out there, fellas. Get out there.
Cracker.
Gold. Absolutely gold. What a legend. An absolute legend.
So a bit of
he's a funny man.
Yeah, he is. Yugarup.
So my face is aching.
As you come into Yugarup, you sort of come out of the forest or bush, and there's a sand hill, which is, it's actually quite cool. All the dunes, or the wind blows the sand, and every year it actually moves and it's actually taken over the forest, which is really cool. But it is a typical spot for being fairly thin, you know. But in his example, you know, he's given the example that you can get around them. Do you go around it? I'll let you go first, but cracker question.
Mate, look, to be honest with you, thanks, Oaks, mate. I'm actually good mates with Brennan. He's an absolute legend. So, and always a laugh. We've had some good laughs, and he can yarn up too. He's as good as us at it. I don't know the area he's talking about, but what I will say is, I anticipate it's no different to, like, if you see people going onto a beach and they're in their all-wheel drive Forester and they're got their Birkenstocks on. I don't care how you dress. You're entitled to dress however you want. Like, let's not judge a book by its cover. But I can see there's a bit of a trend, or there's a bit of an underlying statement in all this. Look, am I helping people that are in environments they shouldn't be in?
Mm.
If it's not dangerous, I would maybe go over there and say, I can suggest this.
Mm.
And depending on the response I get from them be my level of help I would give. If I seen it to be starting to become dangerous, so if I thought they were going to zip tie a couple of Birkenstocks together and it was going to get flicked out from under a tyre and take out one of their eyes, I'd probably go and give them a hand and probably offer some max tracks or something. But if I just thought these lads had it, like he said, mate, you've got this. Yeah, I probably wouldn't, mate. Like, I don't know. If I feel like it's unsafe for someone, I try and mind my own business for the best part. But yeah, look, I mean, at the end of the day, they did sound like they were in full control with their clobber. And look, and again, I'll give an example, mate. So I think it was New Year's Eve. It actually was New Year's Eve last year. Faye and I were down at one of our local spots having a fish. It's soft sand. It's really soft sand down there. Anyway, people are driving back and forwards, and it's just out to a spit, and people are fishing off there and stuff. And some guys had come in there, and I actually didn't even take notice. I just heard some revving and all that. Didn't really take that much notice, and kept fishing. And then sort of popped me. So we were on a bit of a rise there, and he was up on the top bog. And then I sort of come up over the top, and old mate's it's got soft, so he's got bogged, and then proceeded to get himself to the point where you can't get any more bogged. Like, there is not one part of the underside of that car that isn't like 4 foot deep in sand. It was bogged to the balls. And so I watched, and then I yelled out, "You're all good, mate. You need a hand." Because some people don't like help, some people do. And he said, "Nah, all good." Because he only, when I sort of first looked up to him, he was on the phone. He got off the phone. "You're all good." "Yeah, nah, all good. Got some mates coming to help me." Too easy. His mates hadn't turned up after about 20 minutes. We had our awning out, we had everything out. For us to go and give him a hand and snatch him out would have been an absolute pain in the ass, but prepared to do it if he needed a hand. But I had my Max Tracks there, and I went over there first and I said, "Hey, mate, I've got some Max Tracks here. How far away are you, mates?" He said, No, they're all good. They're coming, all good. And I said, "I've got some Max Tracks there. By all means, I can grab them and we can try and get you out. Have you let your tyres down?" And he said, No, I should let them down, eh? And not prepared for anything. No, it was an old work ute or whatever. It wasn't, didn't have all the gear like what we would have in our car or whatever. So, I should let them down. I said, "Oh, it'll help, definitely help. Probably not now. Probably would have helped first, but quite happy to give you a hand and grab your Max Tracks." No, you're all good, mate. You keep fishing. Happy days. No worries." Off I went again. Then his mate turns up in an 80 series and pulls out this snatch strap. And again, I'm not here to judge people. All to your own. What you wear and what you use is your thing. Knock yourself out, run your own race, as the boys would say. But so he jumps out and he's got this snatch strap with about 4 knots in it, where it's just been broken and just tied to. I look at that and I just like, fucking really. Anyway, send the boys. So I would discreetly just sort of hid myself behind the back of my car and was sort of looking. Like probably a bit of a sticky beak, but I was just intrigued how all this was going to all play out and how it was all going to look, you know what I mean? Anyway, I did that and they proceed to hook up this snatch strap and I don't know, like no digging first, no nothing, but the whole back up to the back of the car and just send it. Bang, snap the snatch strap again. They did that 3 times, snatch this snatch strap. At the time, mate, I actually didn't notice. I thought I'd just go over and just offer the Max Tracks to the lads. And when I got over there, I actually realised they were snatching off this whole time, mate, they were snatching off the tow ball.
Oh, shit.
And I was just like, just my, like I can watch and not say anything or whatever, but I looked at the tow ball and I just went, oi, stop, lad, stop. I'm fucking sorry, boys, but I'm not going to fucking watch that. Like, I've got a hitch over here in my car. We can pull your tow bar out and I can lend you my hitch. We can use these Max Tracks to make it easier. I said, I absolutely am not going to stand here and watch that tow ball take off and go through the back of your mate's head. I'm refused to stand here. I don't know yous, none of my business. You can tell me I can go and walk away or whatever. I can tell me to nick off or whatever, your choice. But I'm not going to stand here and watch that without offering a solution. Because that's wrong. No, I've done it all my life and all that. And I said, no worries, mate. But there's an alternative. I've got a hitch there, and I said, mate, can we just use the Max Tracks? I'm going to get me Max Tracks, and they were sort of discussing on that. When I got the Max Tracks. And I was just digging. I said to old mate before I walked off, like, do you want to start digging some sand out from underneath it? Like, is it, mate, you know what it's like. You've got to dig it out. So they're digging away. I get the Max Tracks under there, mate. It took us probably 20 minutes to dig it all out. Old mate was still with the tow ball or whatever. And I said, man, like, even if we just use your pin, take your tow ball out if you don't want to use my hitch. He couldn't get his tow ball out. And I said, man, just have you got recovery points on the front of your car? Even just do it in reverse rather than doing that. Like, we'll get it out with these Max Tracks. I don't think they were that keen, but he ended up doing a Yui and, put his snatch strap on there. I said, I've got another snatch strap. Nah, it's all good. They didn't want me gear or me help or whatever. Put the Max Tracks under there, put his now snatch strap with 32 knots in it and just reversed out slowly, and this Hilux popped straight out and then they were off, like got out onto the flat. And then I just said, I grabbed him. They let me dig. They just were doing all their own shit over there with their cars. I dug my own 4 Max Tracks out. And they said thanks, but, dug myself out. And I said to old mate, bud, like just pin it on the way out. Like I'm happy to lend you the Max trucks, for a second or third time, whatever, but just pin it. Like, off they went, drove out. Now, in that situation, mate, I'm going to help every single day of the week.
Mm.
Regardless of whether they wear Birkenstocks or three-quarter pants. I don't care how you dress. I'm just not going to watch dumb shit take place or people get hurt just because whether that's what you've done for 100 years. And again, I'm not telling people I'm an expert. I'm not telling people that this is the only way to do it. Man, they've probably been doing that for the last 10 years. That snap strap's obviously been used before. It doesn't have knots in it for no reason. But I honestly think, without being an expert, a little bit of education, because people have helped me over the time, man. Like, if people come and offer suggestions to me or ideas, I never ever say no. It's like I'll take it on board, whether I use that information or use that suggestion, whatever. But, to answer it in a nutshell, man, if people, it looks like they can get themselves out without doing it and hurting each other or hurting someone else, I'm just sort of going to nothing to see here, nothing to see here, and keep going. But if it looks dangerous and they look like they're looking for help but too scared to ask for it, I'm always helping. 100%, I'm always helping.
Yeah.
So and look, I mean, another circumstance, man. 3 weeks ago, went out with a son-in-law, stumbled across a bloke where we actually went fishing yesterday. Stumbled upon a bloke who was out there, old fella, in his 70s, I think he was 73, 74, him and his dog, in a BT50 single cab, extra cab or whatever, trailer on there, bogged to the arse. He'd been there for, I think, 30-odd hours. He'd rang the police and the SAS. They put him onto the station owner. The station owner was apparently coming out the following day, which was the day we turned up, with a tractor. When we got there, it was 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock or something, and he hadn't heard anything. He was quite stressed. We offered to help him. At 2 o'clock, mate, we were still snatching old mate out, and he was that bogged, and the sand everywhere was just that soft. His tyres were at 75 PSI. I suggested he let him down. He didn't want to let him down. He was quite stressed, and I didn't want to take over completely. But then I just sort of got to a point where it's like, well, this is our car that we're snatching you out with. This is our recovery gear that we're snatching you out with. These are my old recovery boards that now look like a flat pan because he's just smoked them and just wore all. I've got me ones with me alley treads on them that I carry on the cruiser, but I was in the son-in-law's car, so I took my old orange ones and he's just melted the lugs off them. I was just like, oh fuck, I was that over it. I was hungover. I was hot as Texas, and I just wanted him out of there. But yeah, look, when we drove past at the start of it, mate, he didn't look right. He didn't yell out. He just let us drive past, and my gut said to me, there's something not right, and it wasn't his Birkenstocks. It was just something didn't look right. And we reversed back and said, are you all good? And he needed help. He really desperately needed help, and we helped him out. So I will do that every single day of the week, help people in need. But I won't help people out if there's a group of people and they're all over it. And I certainly 100% won't help people out that tell me, I've fucking got this, mate. It's like, beautiful. Thanks. You've just answered that for me. See you later. I'm done. So, and off I go into the sunset and I go fishing. You know what I mean? So that's my spin on it, mate. Love to hear yours. Because, look, at the end of the day, I don't really care what people wear. I love the Birkenstock thing, and I know where he's going with it, and I'm down for that. I 100% agree with him. There's certain people and certain vehicles that shouldn't be in the situations you find them in. What your spin does.
I reckon it'd be funny. I actually would find it. I'd probably go and want to take some photos because I've seen blokes with those Subarus, and it is actually pretty impressive with where you get them. But I suppose if they're blocking tracks and stuff, it's a whole different story. But I don't know. I always go off their vibe. Like, I'll sort of pull past them and give them the, you guys are right. I always ask. If they're like, I've done it many times where they're up himself. And I know it is just a bloke thing too. You just, you're bogged, and it's the manly thing. You're supposed to get yourself out and all that sort of rubbish.
Yeah.
But it's I always go off their vibe, like some normally you ask them, and then depending on what they say, I'll either offer advice, or not that I'm an expert, but or offer them gear or snatch or whatever. And when you were telling that story, I actually remember when I was in Perth for a few years, lived up there while wife was doing uni, and I'd never really four-drived up there, didn't know what was around, and I went on this four-drive club. I can't remember the name of the club, but I don't think they're even running anymore, but I went up, and I think it was Nangara Pines or something, and they've got like sand dunes in there, and I went up there, and I'm just used to being, I probably wasn't not even much of an expert back then either. I was pretty fresh, and I just had a compressor and all that, and we pull up to the sand dunes, and I just put new tyres on, bigger tyres on my car, so I was keen to test them out in the sand, and pulled up, and I pulled to the side and started letting my tyres down, and these blokes sort of like out the window making fun of me and laughing, and I went flying over the hill and the dunes, and I was sort of like, oh yeah, all cool, like I'm just keen to test my tyres, and so I messed around. I thought, I've been left here by myself now anyway, and let them down and just sort of cruised up the dune and come up, and we were in a group of, I'd say 10 to 15, and I'm pretty sure just about every single one of them were bogged. Like, fuck, I was in tears. It was the funniest thing. They were all bogged, and they were all shoveling flat out, and I sort of cruised up next to them, and they're looking at me like, how the hell are you driving like that? And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I'm digging myself out, bro. I said, literally just let your tyres down, and you'll drive right out of that. Like, it's not hard. Like, you haven't dug yourself down, you've done the right thing and stopped, and you'll get out. Like, just, oh yeah, but I don't have a tyre deflator. I'm like, use a stick, bro. Like, doesn't matter. Like, and so then I started helping all these guys. I had my tyre deflator running around, letting all these tyres down, and I'm trying to explain, just idle out, you'll be fine. Like, just nice and easy. And a couple of them had dug themselves down, so I'm running around, pulling them all out, and some of them, that snobby or stuck up thing, and I was like, whatever, bro. Like, I helped them all out and did like 10 of them, and a few of them still were that scared about letting tyres down. They were still like 25 or something, and it was quite soft. I'm like, bro, you can go down like 10, or depending on your tyre, like you can go down quite low as long as you don't be an idiot. And spent like the whole time pulling these guys out, and then they'd go off and get stuck again, and I'm like, oh my god. And the best bit to tell it all off was we finally finished. I'm like, I'm out of here. Pulled up, went off the dunes, pulled off the side, pulled me pump out, and I think it was, I can't remember if it was one of the first Kings ones or something. And started letting me tyres down. They're all like parked behind me, looking at me. I'm like, you guys pumping it? Oh, none of us bought a compressor.
Oh, you're the pumping station.
Oh, bro, I was there for like an hour, and I'd let this poor pump cool down. And, I was like, and so it was a cracker. So I was pissing myself. Everyone, like, it was so funny. And but I always just go off the vibe. Like, I think on New Year's the same thing. We pulled past some people, and they had actually, because at the start of the beach it was rock hard. Like a lot of those beaches down the Esperance Way and all that, they're just concrete. Like there's literally two-wheel drive cars on there. So we were going down the beach, and it was that busy, and we had, I think, an 80 series in Colorado behind us, and we're cruising along, and it started getting softer and softer and softer. I'm like, oh shit, like probably need to stop and let me tyres down here, and kept going. It just got like proper soft, and we sort of got not stuck, but it was just, I was working the poor car too hard, and I was like, I'm going to get bogged if I go any further, so I stopped. And this Colorado was obviously in the same situation, but I was quite close to the water, and they've tried to go around me on the right, and they haven't even got anywhere near me, and just pulled to the right and got bogged. And I was like, oh shit, let me tyres down. They had the 80 series with them, and same thing. They were digging and and trying to pull each other out, and I sort of was giggling. I was like, shit, that was my fault. And went up a little bit further, turned around and come back past them, and the same thing, like, you guys are right in your hand, and no, we don't need them. I was watching them and they were doing all this crazy shit just about getting the other car bogged. I'm like, later, Bolt, have fun with that. Like, I always go for their vibe. 100%. I always go for their vibe. Like, I'd actually love to see someone get a 5-strap Uger up. I reckon that'd be pretty funny. But that's my general take on it. But I reckon that would be a cracker. I know we keep saying it, but for people to send in their wild recovery stories and people stuck and another really quick one is of another bloke I knew. It was a Jeep down Newgrup, and same thing as Bog, told him to let his tyres down. He went to the beach, come back, and he'd rolled all the tyres off his rims because he'd let all the air out. So he's like, well, have fun with that recovery. Yeah. But I don't know if there's anything more you want to add to that. But,
Oh, mate, I think the bottom line is, always, show the Australian spirit and stop and ask people if they need a hand. I think that's just the thing to do. Birkenstocks or no Birkenstocks. Always give them a hand. I mean, if there's, like I said, if there's 10 people there and they've got they look like they're in control, mind your own business, I guess, and move on. Always just yell at, you just need a hand or whatever. I think, and like you said, you read the vibe, you read the mood, and you can see whether people need your help or whether they don't, and whether people are. I think you can, because as you said, it's a bloke thing to be sort of proud and say, no, I forgot this or whatever. But you can see when a bloke looks at you like being proud, and he's on the inside, he's going, "Fuck, man, just help me! I'm done here. Like, I don't know what I'm doing." You sort of know, and you can still just get out there and, without forcing yourself on them, just say, "Mate, look, mate, how about we grab a beer and we bloody work it out together?" Blokes will always just, fucking too easy, Raz, let's do it. So I think you always offer help. But I don't know. I sort of did laugh about it when it came in. It was a bit of like natural selection sort of going on there. It's like sometimes I'm sure these people get born that you shouldn't be there. Like, I mean, it's not a place for you. And then you see them and you just think, wow, wow. And look, mate, on another part of that, wasn't essentially about getting bogged. It was on our recent trip we were on Durkartog Island, and it was about helping people and just the response you get from people. So we're on Durkartog Island. I did touch, I think, on the last episode about people with the tools and not knowing how to use them. We went down, so while we were on the island, we were going to each campsite and just taking photos and doing some videos for our channel and shit, and just some bit of research. So, because we want to take the kids back there in the future, and just what campsites are good and bad. Popped down onto this one campsite, and there was a couple there, and this big, I think it was like a big ram or whatever, rooftop tent and everything on it, all mad setup, big gazebo all set out there, and we basically just drove straight down onto the beach. And this lady, they would have been probably similar age to us, like maybe in their 40s. This lady jumped down to the passenger seat and waved us down. She was panicking, mate. She was in like a full frantic state. And like we pull up and I wind the window down. And I said, "Oh, how you going?" She's, "We need your help. We need your help. We can't start our car. We need your help." And it's like, "Oh, good." Like, it was like she'd been there for like 10 days or something. Like, I don't know how long they'd been there before, but she was like in full freak out mode. And then the hubby, he's an Irish fellow, I believe, or Scottish or something, and he sort of got here. He was a bit more chilled. He was panicking a bit, but he was a bit more chilled than her. And then, I said, "No worries, we'll drive up and have a look." And she sort of basically almost running along beside my car. And then please don't take this as like it was an experience, mate, I'll tell you. And like, you can judge me however you want, but there was an experience that I've never experienced, or my wife and I have never experienced. So we pull up beside the car, and old mate's like, "Yeah, you go, mate, I need a jump start. Like, I've got jumper leads here. If you just want to pull up there, and I'll give you a jump start." And I just said, so with me in my head, I've just bought a brand new car. This is our first trip. Our car has, I think at that point in time, mate, we had, I think, 3,000 Ks on the clock or something. And not to say that I can't jump start a car, but I was just like, mate, I carry a jump pack, like when you're in off-road living jump pack things. Most people carry them nowadays. They're good. So I just thought, look, I've got a jump pack here, mate. I'll try that first. and then we'll go down. And he goes, no, I've got a jump pack. And I said, so, and what is it, flat? No luck with it? And he goes, I don't even know how to use it, mate. And I sort of, on the inside, I had that, wasn't even a giggle. It was a bit like, oh, well, you're like a muppet then. I don't know. So just judging pretty quick, like, why are you carrying it if you don't even use it? And now, like, you're in this, like, panic. You could have actually saved yourself. Anyway, I said, well, we'll try it, mate. I'll jump out and I'll show you how to use it. He's like, mate, just pull up in front of me. And, like, I can't emphasise enough why all this is going on. I'm trying to have a conversation with the husband. This lady is just on. Like, it's like someone's just ripcorded her and just sent her into orbit. And you've got to help us. Why isn't the car just going off? Like, and then why all that's happening, this is all happening within like a minute and a half, 2 minutes. Fee, my wife's jumped out of the car with the GoPro just to video the beach, what we've been doing all day. And just like, I'll just straight up, you turn that fucking video off right now. I've given you no permission to video this. I've given you no permission to have a video here. You turn it. You are disgusting. And Fee's like, I'm not videoing you, Dale. Like, it's not about, I'm actually videoing the beach. And she's like, you put that camera away now. I've given you no permission. And like, I was, so because she was yelling at the wife, I was a bit like, what's going on over here? And I'm sort of looking at her, and he's like, mate, we need your help. It was just all happening. Like, it was like a hornet's nest, mate. And then, so I just said, look, grab your jump starter. My wife's big enough and mad enough to look after herself. She'll sort all love out, happy days, in no physical way, but she'll deal with it. And then I go over there, I show old mate to use how to use his jump starter, but I look at his jump starter, it's got 30% on it. It's like, well, at the end of the day, probably not going to get much out. And it's a big, like, 7-8 litre motor in this big Ram. Tries to start it, nothing. Anyway, I grab my jump starter, and then the wife walks over, and she's just still like, well, why won't it start? Why won't this? And are you a mechanic? And it's like, no, I'm not a mechanic. Well, so how are you going to help us? I said, just it's all good. We'll work through it and we'll get it working. And my wife's just piped up and says to the lady or to the bloke, have you got anything running off your batteries? He goes, yeah, I've got my fridge. And she said, is it still running? And he said, yeah. But we've been having a few dramas with it. And my wife's like, yeah, probably because you've got no power for it. Like, every source, like, this is just because this is what we do. The wife's just like, well, do you want to go and turn your fridge off? Oh, well, and she's like, I'm not going to lose all our food. I'm not going to. It's like, well, you've got two options here, Dale. You like lose your food for 5 minutes or an hour or whatever, and hopefully it lasts, or you just stay here with your unstarted car, like. And she's still going on, and she says she's got the audacity to say to me, Have you got a satellite phone? I said, no, I don't. And she said, why? I said, sorry? And she's like, why don't you? And I said, well, do you? And she said, no. And I said, well, why? And she said, well, we didn't realise we needed one. And I said, well, I don't need one. Like, I'm all good. So, and she says, well, you need to go back to the station and let them know. And I said, sorry, Dale, but I don't need to do anything. I'm here to help you. I don't know you. I'm not a mechanic. I'm trying my best, but you need to calm down. You're actually getting out of control right now, so just calm down. She's still going on, and I was at that point, brother. I was almost at that point where I was going to say to the hubby, but fucking put your missus in the car. Not to sound rude, man, but like she needs to like calm down because she's out of control. I understand she's stressed. I understand this is a really shit time, but she needs to just like take a breath and calm down. Anyway, we get my jump pack out. We get old mate's fucking car started, but then it stalls. In the end, it's like, I said to Fee, I just wanted to get out of there, mate. And I spun the car around, checked his jumper leads, make sure it had the anti thing on it, whatever it's called. Hooked his car up, got it started, and then I reversed the car back so Fee could be in the safety of our car and do her thing over there. And I grabbed me God, I can't even think. Me tester out, and went over there to test his battery, and I just said, look, well, let's just see what volts are in your battery, and it's pulling 14.6 volts or whatever. I said, so your alternator's charging, mate. Just my multimeter, like we've checked it, your battery's charging, just hold it flat for 20 minutes or whatever, and then you'll be right to get out of here. We'll mention your name when we get back to the station, but yeah, our time is done here. We've done the best of what we can do. Because no way I know I'm towing him out of there. I couldn't have towed him out of there. No, thanks, heaps, mate. Shook my hand. This whole time, old love's still ranting and raving. He says thank you to us. I walk back to my car and jump in, and she doesn't even say thank you, doesn't wave to us, doesn't do anything. We drove out of there. And both Fee and I, we got 50 metres down the track, and my wife looks over and goes, she was an absolute fuckhead. And I said, yeah, tell me about it. Like, my wife doesn't usually say shit like that. And she said, never again, babes. Like, she was out of control. And I said, no. And my wife doesn't talk like that, man. Like, she was just, it was the most wildest experience. And that actually put us off, so getting back to this topic of, would you drive past? If I had known Old Love was going to be like that, I nearly would have driven past. I would have just nothing to see here, and we should have done a quick U and just bolted out of there. But we helped and we got them back on the track, and it turns out, half an hour later or so, we'd actually been going in and out the other sites, and we came out and they had actually passed us. So, or we'd seen them go past, and then we actually slowed down and actually stopped and had a bit of lunch just to let them go out in front of us. But, mate, that was a wild experience, and they're the reason I think sometimes people don't help and don't stop and just see if you're all right and do the right thing. So, shout out to them. You're a crazy woman, and, yeah, maybe stay at home, have some time out from any island or any kind of bush landscape, and do something to chill out and get your husband to learn how to use a jump pack. Just a quick heads up for us. But anyway, that was our experience. So always ask, always help out, but be aware that there's some crazies out there.
Especially if we're wearing those.
Actually, didn't even have Birkenstocks. I don't even know if she had shoes on. Yeah.
It's dead right. We're at 56 minutes. Did you want to try and get that other story in, or you want to leave that for another time?
The first aid one? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. You want to fit that in, or you want to start for
can do.
Yeah, so going off there.
No, we can, mate. We can just. Yeah, so I'll just another story I wanted to tell you, mate. And I do tell some stories. We've had some experiences in our time, but we'll just sort of touch on at the end of the last episode about the boys' questions about must-haves in the vehicle. We're talking about first aid, and I just wanted to touch on this, and it will come up again. And I said to you off air, whatever you want to call it, once we finish that potty. I said, "Oh, mate, I'd love to share a story of first aid kits and the the need to know how to use them and stuff." So back in 2018, we did the Gibb River Road, and I think we were 4 days into a month trip. We'd done Manning Gorge during the day. We were travelling with some good friends of ours. They had 2 young kids. We had our young kids, or younger back then, obviously. We'd done Manning Gorge that day. We were camped up there in the campground, and we both had our camper trailers. And every sort of couple of days, we were carrying a heap of beer in the camper trailer, and we were restocking our fridges. In the car. And that particular night, we'd had a fire going, and we stocked up the fridges and we're burning the boxes. So as we were burning the boxes, and make no mistake about it, this story I'll tell you, because the first response we get all the time was, "Oh, your missus must have been pissed." Had she been drinking? 100%. Was she blind drunk? Under no circumstances. Throwing the boxes into the fire, and all the chairs were parked up around the fire, and when the box went into the fire, just by chance, some wind came through and grabbed that box and was just become airborne towards the chairs. Natural, it was just instinct. The wife just to put her hand up to save the kids. It was going straight for a couple of the kids, And as she's done that to sort of, I don't know, like why you'd catch a flaming box. It's just what you do as a mum or just as a person.
Yeah.
Jumped up to grab it, tripped over a rock and fell straight into the fire. Hand straight into the deepest part of into the coals, glowing red coals. So pretty much from her fingers to a quarter of the way up her forearm was 3rd degree burns, 2nd degree up past her elbow, and then, so 3rd, 2nd and 3rd, the 3rd being the least worst one, in her shoulder. Basically fell into the fire, rolled into it and rolled back out of the fire. It all happened in about a second. The most scariest process in my life, like it was insane. I went to water a little bit, mate, at the time. I was a bit like the kids were screaming. I was fortunate that the mate we were travelling with had spent a fair bit of time in the army back in the day, and just knew a fair bit about first aid and knew he's just one of those people when shit starts hitting the fan, he's real chilled. Yeah. I don't know what he'd be like with his own kids, but to watch us go through that, he was so chilled, so organised, so in check, and the missus was in that much shock, and there was just skin peeling off her arm. It was an horrendous thing to watch and see. So we went through all the process, got the first aid going. We did this, we did that, what we thought was the right thing. Wife didn't want to go to the hospital or whatever. We thought we could. We thought we didn't realise the severity of it at the time. We kept travelling for 3 days, man. Self-administering first aid out of our first aid kit in our car. The missus was going right, heaps of painkillers. All we were trying to do is get ourselves up the track a little bit further to get to a medical centre. And the medical centre was going to be up at Columbaroo because we were travelling up there anyway. Anyway, we did Mitchell's Plateau walk with my missus, like with 3rd degree burns and stuff, like bandages, all the rest of it. The day of that trip, we covered her arm in Savlon, which was the wrong thing to do. Did the Mitchell Plateau walk, came back that night. It was a massive day in the heat. That morning, she woke up the following morning, bawling her eyes out. I'm not good. Seeing the ranger there, he said, go to Columbaroo. Went to Columbaroo, drove up to Columbaroo, a couple of hours up the road. One of the most remote communities in West Australia, in Australia, one of them. And went into the medical centre there, and within 45 minutes, mate, we were basically packing her a bag. The hospital or the medics there had said to her, I had spoken to Fiona Stanley in Perth, and they'd suggested that if they don't get her down to hospital within the next 24 to 40 hours, 30 hours, they'll be cutting her arm off. And it was horrendous, man. It was a pretty scary concept. So within 45 minutes of being there, we were packing her a backpack, and they were flying her out of Columbaroo, flew her to Broome, flew her to Perth, and she spent 10 days in hospital. The rest is another story for another time. But the reality was we didn't have enough burn aid stuff in the thing. We didn't know how to deal with burns. We weren't full bottle on it. It was a really horrendous situation to be faced with and for our kids to face. And it really hit home to us the importance of carrying the right gear for the area you're in and knowing how to use it, going back to tools and all the rest of it. Mate, if you carry a first aid kit, you must carry a first aid kit in your vehicle, wherever your boat, quad bike, whatever. But just have some kind of basic knowledge on it, because we've got basic knowledge, but we underestimated the severity of it, and we didn't have enough gear for that particular situation. So I just wanted to share that story to the people listening out there. It was a personal thing. It took my wife 2 years of wearing compression bandages, and she's still scarred now. It was something that we'll never forget. But definitely first aid kits, and have someone with you that knows how to use them and administer first aid, or at least yourself. That's important, because it can be the difference between life and death, and it does get that serious. I mean, the fact that we got told that if she didn't get to hospital in the next 24 odd hours, that they'd be cutting her arm off. That was a pretty frightening concept, really frightening concept. And we were, had she not have got to that pain level where we couldn't deal with it anymore, we could have gone too far, mate. We could have actually thought, So anyway, I thought I'd share that. But
Bit of
Episode 4, and I'm sorry that we've put episode 4, finished episode 4 on a downer, but it's just a reality. It's off road. It's what we do, you know.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing. Like, I think you share a story like that, and it's I guess in a way I've listened to many podcasts and heard people's stories, and it becomes a bit of a reality check for you. You know, like I was just literally thinking then I was like, shit. Trying to think what cars I've actually got safe first aid kits, and sometimes you use them and don't really stock them. It's a simple thing, and you're like, oh, I'll never use it. But and then knowing how to use it, like shit, you get in a bad situation, and you're like, oh, the first aid course costs, I don't know what they cost, but $200. Oh, I can use that for beer or whatever. And you get into a situation,
lessen your life.
You got a family member, and then you're like, "Fuck, what's $200 to saving a family member, or maybe not, even if it's not life-threatening, helping them, a simple thing like that." So it can be so overlooked. Yeah. So a bit of a serious note to finish off on, but I think it's a good one to definitely keep in your mind for sure. Well,
100%. So all you guys that get out there and enjoy the outdoors like us, be smart. We're all out there to have a good time and go home to our families like anything else. This wasn't sort of meant to end on a negative note. It was meant to end on a learning note. Look, we still had a ball. We still had an amazing trip. She did ended up coming back and finishing the trip with us. So we finished off on a high note, and every other trip since then has been a high note too, because we're a little bit more wiser for the experience. So, episode 4, just come to an end, Bruss.
It has, and I suppose you got to learn about what shoe to wear. Otherwise, you might not get pulled out.
Yep.
Right.
100%. Get away from the Birkenstocks, boys, because you could get left behind. So done, Brendan. Hey, mate, Brendan. Sorry, because we lost topic again, as we do. Brendan, Ocean Heart Adventures. Check him out. He's got a YouTube channel also, and his Insta. Jump on. A laugh a minute. If you want to know how to catch salmon, he's your man. He's a salmon guru. But get on and check him out. He's an absolute legend. He's a wealth of knowledge and a great guy to boot. So thanks, heaps, mate. Appreciate it. Yep. Righto, mate. Amazing. Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Punched out episode 4.
Once you get there.
Thanks, legends. Appreciate you tuning in.